Hello and welcome to this live online information event for an incredibly unique and equally special little school, Clifton Prep, Nottingham Road. My name is Esvia Prinsloo and it is my privilege to serve as the 9th headmaster of Clifton. Based in the idyllic Midlands of KwaZulu-Natal, Clifton's setting is a wonderful enabler of our school's values, which we are super excited to share with you during this evening's Q&A session in a few minutes' time. We are an independent, coeducational prep school with a committed staff who wholeheartedly buy into our ethos of championing childhood. Clifton sporting facilities are home to 85 boys and girls from 8 different countries, from as far as the UK, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and as near as Lesotho, Botswana, Swaziland, Zimbabwe, Johannesburg, Underberg, and Belito. With me on our panel to answer your questions tonight are Peter Quinn, our Deputy Head, Justice Majola, Head of Boarding, and Rachel Ford, who'll be representing our Junior Prep. And we are all looking forward to sharing a little more with you about what makes Clifton Notties so special.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Imagine a school where playing, exploring,
and outdoor learning on an idyllic 60-hectare campus
are indistinguishable.
Picture a school where young boys and girls grow intellectually,
morally,
spiritually, into happy, grounded, self-assured individuals.
Nestled in the beautiful KwaZulu-Natal Midlands, Clifton Nottingham Road provides a world-class independent education for boys and girls from grades 00 to 7 in a charming country setting. Boarders from 6 countries call Clifton home. Central to the Clifton journey of self-discovery are hands-on opportunities for extension and inspiration in a range of outstanding academic, sporting and cultural facilities. The focus of the Clifton community is that a Clifton child should leave our gates as a well-balanced, lifelong learner with a firm set of core values and moral principles. How we get there is an adventure in itself.
We know that the carefree aspect of childhood is under threat, and we believe that a truly holistic approach to education is vital to safeguard our children against the demands and pressures of the 21st century and at the same time equip them to cope with the ever-shifting world beyond our gates. We place a great deal of emphasis on developing a curriculum that offers our children a balanced diet of academics, sporting and cultural activities, as well as sprinkling into their days a healthy dose of opportunity to explore and discover through play and adventure.
Abraham Maslow may have found a perfect case study at Clifton Notties, where safety, love and belonging, esteem and self-actualization are at the core of our very intentional pastoral structures. Our teachers teach to their passions and focus on the personal growth of their charges. Given the successes of our children at high school and beyond, there is no doubt that they have been infused with a passion for lifelong learning and personal development during their years in this idyllic place.
Speaking of an idyllic place, our campus lends itself to outdoor activities, and Clifton staff appreciate the flexibility and promise of adventure beyond the walls of the formal classroom setting. Opportunities for growth and learning exist everywhere in our 60-hectare classroom, from our on-campus riding school to the forests and dams which abound our estate.
No holistic education can be complete without an exciting expressive arts program. Our expressive arts department comprises a dynamic and experienced team of music, drama and visual arts teachers with specialist training in their respective areas of expertise. We just know that our programs allow creative opportunity for boys and girls to develop key skills in confidence, collaboration, communication and critical thinking. Our vibrant calendar is awash with exhibitions, concerts, recitals and dramatic productions which give expression to previously undiscovered flares.
Sports sessions take place twice weekly, and our grade 1 and 2 boys and girls participate in a variety of mini festivals throughout the year. Friendly inter-house rivalry between our little barbarians, Trojans and Crusaders is ignited in grade 1, and this healthy competition is sustained until grade 7.
Few aspects of life in any school can provide more educational opportunities than sport, which takes on a more competitive edge during the senior primary years. The number of options available is expanded to include tennis, hardball cricket, rugby, squash and basketball, and our sportsmen and women participate in a full program of midweek and Saturday fixtures. Our world-class heated swimming pool, championship glass-back squash courts and all-weather indoor centre are the icing on the cake of 5 playing fields and tracts of open space to develop strength, fitness and endurance. While individual sporting pursuits are encouraged, team sports underpin our philosophy of the collective good.
There is magic at Clifton, something beyond the power of words to explain. I have witnessed the wonder of Clifton's nurturing, holistic approach to education in my own children, and I am privileged to be able to play a role in ensuring that the same is true for all families that pass through our gates.
Clifton may appear to some to be something of a time warp. Modern facilities are nestled comfortably alongside charming period buildings, the backdrop against which we celebrate our heritage of old school non-negotiables. These are our core values of perseverance, bravery, wholeheartedness, playfulness, ubuntu, being intentional, and respect and manners. Boys and girls at Clifton Notties have access to one of the most beautiful campuses on the continent, with acres and acres demanding exploration, forests beckoning adventure, and trees just waiting to be climbed. Foraging for conkers during conker season, building forts in top woods, whizzing down Bobsleigh Hill, fishing in Cliff's Dam, reading a book under a tree, or extending body and mind on our adventure-themed Project Braveheart obstacle course are all in a holistic day's work at Clifton Nottingham Road.
Steeped in 78 years of tradition, the real value of a Clifton education remains an environment where a rare balance has been struck between a forward-thinking progressive education and the priceless opportunity for young boys and girls to savor the wonder of childhood. Experience the unbelievable world of Clifton magic for yourself.
Good evening, mums and dads, and thank you for joining us on this live online Clifton Notties information evening. We're thrilled that you've made the effort to join us, and we're hoping to give you some more information about our magnificent school. My name is Pete Quinn. It's my very real pleasure and privilege to be the deputy of the school, a place which I've been since 1998. Part of the panel tonight I'd like to introduce to you. First up is our headmaster, Mr. Prinsloo. Despite him looking a bit like one of the Top Gun mavericks, he'll talk us through most of the questions this evening. So good evening, Mr. Prinsloo.
Good evening.
Next up is Mrs. Rachel Ford. Mrs. Rachel Ford is a current Clifton parent at the moment and will represent the junior primary this evening. And Justice Majula is our boarding head. Mr. Majula has been with us for 22 years, so please expect to hear some deep wisdom and lots of information from Mr. Majula over the course of the evening. Folks, the process for this obviously is as you've signed yourselves, and you'll see on the right-hand side of the YouTube link a bit of a chat. Without your questions, we can't carry on. So please do feel free to pop any questions you have there, and we'll try to answer those as best we can. Should we not answer any of your question adequately, please do feel free to chat to us afterwards via email, or failing that, we'll be in contact with you too. So while you summon up the courage to pop those questions out, perhaps I could ask you, Mr. Prinsloo, to break some ice and perhaps give us an introduction to the school's positioning and perhaps a bit about the mission statement as well.
Fantastic. Firstly, moms and dads, guests, it really is a wonderful privilege for me to welcome you here tonight. I'm the 9th headmaster of Clifton, as you heard in the video earlier. But I do think it's imperative for me to start off by saying that it is. I've never been more sold out for an education system than what I've been at Clifton. It is just a remarkable place. And you know, Pete, you're asking me about the position of the school. What I've found over the last, certainly over the last 6 months, is that there's a definite shift in parents who's saying, but I am willing to pay money for the well-being of my child rather than the excellence of my child. And we've seen a definite shift in parents going, but yes, it is important for my child to get a good education, but his well-being is actually more important. And when we think about Clifton, and I think about the setting, I mean, the backdrop is painted already for a child just to, and you'll hear us speaking about this quite a lot during the evening, is to love being alive. And the philosophy of all of our teachers is exactly that. Because you see, in the Midlands, I feel that parents who have signed up for the Clifton experience and that Clifton magic that we so often refer to, are saying, but hang on a second, there must be more to life than just rushing from point A to point B. And at Clifton, we actually pause for long enough to expose our children not only to nature, but for that process of discovery learning that becomes the very foundation block of that strong identity that will then become the springboard and the building block to achieve the successes that we've seen over the years our Clifton children actually achieve. When we speak about our mission, I think it's exactly that. We champion childhood, and champion mustn't be mistaken for being the best. Champion means that we are fostering childhood. We never compromise childhood. Yet we still are expecting our boys and our girls to be in a position where they are pushing themselves to their very limit, but never at the cost of childhood. And that's why you will see that part of our philosophy is we encourage our boys and girls to, well, not encourage, we actually force them to play all team sports. Why do we do that? Because we acknowledge the fact that life is actually a team sport. And without that skill to successfully negotiate yourself in that environment, where I need to make people in my team excited about my idea, that is a skill that we as adults will require. And coupled with that is the realization, but hang on a second, I have got something to give. Even though I might have two left feet, I can still, through my energy and excitement and passion and rigor, I can still go onto a soccer field, for example, and cause an influence. And that's an important component for us. So we don't compromise on these. We've got excellent coaching staff that are there to ensure that we are constantly pushing our children to achieve their best. However, sport is merely a tool to reach the lives of children in a way that they can actually use that skills that we are teaching in real life situation. And the same is true for our academic curriculum. I think Clifton is unique in the way that we have access to, well, I think some of the most jaw-dropping backdrops that you'll see in any education environment in the world, really. And we realize that. We realize that that is something that we need to tap into, and therefore our Out and About program is so crucial for us to expose our children into that environment, make them excited about it, but also that tangible, kinetic learning experience becomes incredibly important to us. So you ask me about our position. We love seeing children being alive. But more importantly, we love what the community brings, and especially from our boarding families. What we've seen is their children being far away from home, them really locking into that family ethos has become incredibly powerful and successful for us over many years at Clifton.
Thanks, Mr. Prinsloo. I think it goes without saying that most of you folks would have seen what Clifton is about and what we do and how we roll, I guess, if that's the correct form to use these days. Mr. Prinsloo, you've spoken about well-being and about pausing and about pushing. One thing that folks out there might not know is that we've got a very intentional focus on our traditions as well. So in as much as we have a very direct and very intentional academic focus, we are about having fun, and we are about honouring the traditions of those pioneers, I guess, who started our school in 1942. We have Out and About classes. We have an outdoor classroom day pretty much across the board once a term. And as an example, this Friday we're hosting our first inter-house fort building competition. So we do try and make sure that it's not just about what's on TV or what's new at the mall. We do try and make sure that our children are grounded and do have fun and do, I suppose work on what was and what is important and those old school values. Let's pop in there, Mr. Minsler.
Yeah, I think just Pete is actually touching on something that is probably our main, and I'm going to call it a differentiator, where we definitely have that farm school feel about our school. However, we still pursue the rigors of normal urban education. However, that rural sense that our children enjoy removes issues that children in inner city schools are battling with, such as excessive gaming and online behaviors that are some of the issues that we don't necessarily battle with on a day-to-day basis, such as schools are finding themselves in the traditional inner city environments at the moment.
Thank you. We've got some questions. Thank you, folks. The first one is from Mr. Witherspoon. Thank you very much. Mr. Majola, I wonder if I can prevail on you for the answer to this one. Mr. Witherspoon asks, what do the boarders get up to on weekends? Perhaps leave out the mischief and the hiding of tuck, Mr. Majola, but give us a bit of a breakdown, if you don't mind, of what the boarders might expect on an average weekend.
Well, our resident staff and our boarding staff take care of our boarders over the weekend. We also set out a specific plan in terms of making sure that our boarders are entertained. So that varies from going to buying plants and decorating flower pots, making sure that they are embedded in what Clifton is, and ensuring that they are sleeping out at the Lapa, ensuring that they are outdoors and just being children. That is what we tend to focus our weekends on. It's based on our traditions, and making sure that the children are partaking on those, so those are not forgotten. And then also just instilling team games, team building games, just to keep their morale up. And then they also get to watch movies and have popcorn, just to be just a little family as well, just to try and replicate a bit of our home base feel. But essentially, you know, our boarders, we try and instill in them a brotherhood, a sisterhood, and those are the basis that we run our boarding houses and our weekends on. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
It does. Thanks, Mr. Majola. Don't go too far away. One of the questions that's popped up here, Mrs. Kerry Bonsall, thank you for your question. What is Clifton's view on homework? Is this something we encourage or aim to reduce? Mrs. Bonsall, what we do at the moment is we do, I think obviously homework is a very important part of what we do as a school. It might make you slightly relieved, so we don't have homework on a Wednesday, and that all boarders are supervised during their prep sessions. If it is a boarding specific question, there are qualified teachers or resident staff who oversee the evening prep sessions from 5 until 5:45, and you'll either have an intern, which we'll talk about later, or an academic staff member with each grade, each specific grade, during the evening to make sure that prep is covered. So we do homework, yes, but that would obviously be Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays. Wednesdays no homework, and Fridays while we're preparing for the weekends. Mr. Majola, while I've got you there, could I perhaps ask that you just give a run through of what a boarder might expect during the course of your average week, rather than, I mean, you've handled the weekends pretty comprehensively. So what might a boarder's a day in the life of a boarder perhaps entail?
Well, it's a general wake up at 6 o'clock for both boarding houses. Then we have inspection at around past, and then making sure that they head to to breakfast, and then they have breakfast, and then they return, and then brushing teeth, and then they head off to the normal school day. Then after school, they'll probably wander back into the boarding houses, get their sports kit, and then head off to the afternoon sessions of sport. And then they will return thereafter. Then our phone days for our boarders is a Tuesday, Wednesday, and a Thursday around 4:30 until just before 5. And then that's the time that they get to communicate with parents and making sure that their travel arrangements for the weekend are all in order. And then just touch base with family, that's important. And hence that's why we have those 3 phone days during the week to allow that connection with family. I'm hoping that answers the question.
I see I've missed the first part of Mr. Witherspoon's question, the split between day scholars and boarders at Clifton. Mr. Prinsloo, can I chuck that to you?
Yeah, we're looking at about, I would say just less than 1/3 of our school population, boys and girls. And of that third, we're looking at about a 50% split between girls and boys at the moment. So the relevance of that really is to say that the boarders become really like an incredible family, and it's treated as such. And what we see often, some of our closer boarders from around the area, they very often choose to stay in over the weekends just because of that brotherhood and sisterhood. And I know that Mr. Majola spoke about, movie night and popcorn, but I can tell you, I've been there. I've been out for walks on Sunday mornings at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the next thing you see is boarders playing around in the obstacle course. And after questioning them where they were, sleeping out in the lapa where they cook their own food, and so the stuff that they get up to over weekends is so incredibly powerful that quite often even our weekly boarders are desperate not to miss out on some of those experiences. So I hope that answers your question, Mr. Witherspoon.
You talk to experiences there, Esphia, and one of the questions that's popped up now is from Ben Parham, and thank you, Ben. Experiences specific. The question is, how many sports teams are there per age group? And then secondly, will most children be able to represent the school in some form or another? Mr. Parham, there are an incredible array of sports available, and I know that, I'm certain that you've checked our website. The short answer, of course, is that children, perhaps more than will, they must represent the school in some form or another. And we've got a huge array of offerings. And perhaps, Mr. Prinsloo, I could chuck to you the more specific question about how many sports teams there are per age group.
Yeah. Thank you, Pete. I think what is important for me to answer there is that because one of our philosophies at Clifton remains that we love the small nurturing environment, and the very size of the school, even though we can grow the school to well over 400, we have intentionally made the decision to keep the class sizes small because of that very notion. We don't want to have 500 kids in the school and only a select few are representing A's and B's in certain sports. So therefore, we're keeping, because of the smaller numbers, all of our boys and all of our girls have the opportunity to represent Clifton. And we often find that children are representing Clifton's A team, and if they had to be at another bigger school, they would find themselves in B or C teams, which means that their exposure to, I'm going to say a higher quality of sporting experience is then increased, which we've found over the years has actually proven to be beneficial for the growth and development of every single boy and girl. So you talk about sporting codes. Yes, we do have the traditional sports. We are slightly governed by the sporting body amongst prep schools in the area, and therefore we have zoned in to our traditional sports for boys such as rugby, cricket, hockey, and then we have our individual sports for boys. In particular, we're looking at swimming, athletics, tennis, and squash. For the girls, it's very similar. However, we just add swimming. We add horse riding in as part of the individual choices that we offer, together with the tennis, the squash, and then team sports. The girls play soccer, they play basketball, and they play hockey as well. So, and then there are other sports that are obviously part of just the everyday life of a Clifton child. That's mainly covered through our clubs, and that's our cross-country season is very, very popular because we get to run in our forest, which is surrounding the school, and we get to ride our mountain bikes, which is also taking children again out into nature, and then we enjoy some, let's call it less traditional activities such as fly fishing and radio club and things like that. That is uniquely Clifton.
Mr. Parham, I hope that answers your question. Mrs. Goldie, you've asked a pearl over a question, and thank you very much for that. I'm going to have a go at it if you don't mind. It's the question, folks, is please describe the ideal Clifton boy or girl. Now, obviously, we're going to be wildly biased here, but I think the immediate picture that pops up into my mind is a young person of substance and integrity and of character. A person who makes a difference in the world, who understands others, who's empathetic, who's measured and calculated in their choices, but also can run through a mud puddle and doesn't mind going barefoot and can throw a good acorn or get involved in a good conquer war. These are probably a bit cheesy in the way of answers, but I must say that in my 24 years at the school, I've never quite understood quite how this emerges. Really, it's a wonderful mix of the character of the staff, the character of fellow Cliftonians, and perhaps a little sprinkling of the history which makes up the school, the magic which makes up the school. So when children leave our gates, we're proud to see them go, and we're proud to see them take a part of Clifton with them. Just anecdotally, we're fortunate enough to be able to host our past pupils, grade 7s from, would it be 5 years ago? I don't teach maths, folks, who are currently in grade 12. They'll be coming back to share a few stories and a hamburger and a chat. So that's the kind of person we is that the ideal Clifton person, a person of character who matters in the world and who can contribute. So I don't know if you'd like to stop my flow there.
No, I would just like to add, I think also because everything is not perfect at Clifton, everything is not bricked up or has astro. There's enough space for children to actually discover their own boundaries through natural resources. What I also believe a Clifton child, what makes a Clifton child unique is their ability to demonstrate resilience and making the best of what they have. Everything is not delivered to them on a platter, so they have to actually take that creatively, solving problems and then executing it through a love for those around them. So the whole notion of I have got value, I have been created for a purpose, and I can make a difference with my skill set. And I think that is definitely what makes a Clifton child unique.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Esphia. Also, folks, the reality is to make a difference, one needs to be exposed to certain opportunities, and given the campus and the magnificent the space and the facilities which our benefactors have gifted the school over the many years, means that children do have state-of-the-art facilities to express themselves, either in the arts, in the sporting environments, or just by being able to build a great fort. And then so that to me is really what I suppose is the ultimate Clifton boy or girl. We could carry on with this for weeks. Folks, the next question from Karen Forstler. Mrs. Ford, perhaps I could direct this towards you. My son starts grade R next year and is already reading at beyond a grade R level. Do you offer extension work within the classroom environment so that he doesn't get bored?
Thanks, Karen, and thanks, Pete. Yes, absolutely. So I think what's important to realize is that Clifton really values the individual and the teachers always meet the child where they are at and takes them from there to greater heights. So whilst the classroom capabilities may be diverse, your child will be met where he's at and then taken beyond that at his own pace, particularly if he is already reading at an advanced level for the rest of the group, which sounds like it may be the case with your son.
Thanks
I hope
very
that
much,
answers
Rachel.
your question.
Thank you, Rachel. Hamish I, your question is as follows. What is your approach to discipline and manners? Hamish, I can say it's uncompromising from one perspective. There's that old adage, show me the, well, I suppose manners maketh man. We could keep going for ages about this. We're intentional about our manners. We're intentional about our discipline. It's self-discipline. It's certainly not imposed in a draconian form, but really about children being the best versions of themselves. So this is underpinned certainly through boarding, through the class teachers' reinforcement or support of the process, and we do have a school discipline policy, and so on. But I think, as with anything, manners underpin anything, and that certainly speaks more to the character of our children too. I hope that's answered that, sir. Mrs. Leach, Caroline Leach, does the school offer any sporting scholarships, and if so, from what ages? Mr. Prinsloo, can I direct this towards you? Does the school offer any sporting scholarships, and if so, from what ages?
Thank you for the question, Caroline. Unfortunately, we don't. And it's we do have a program that's called the Braveheart Scholarships, and Braveheart is basically for grade 4 children going into grade 5. And what we offer children through an interview and assessment program is the opportunity to apply at Clifton, and if awarded the scholarship, that will come at a reduced cost. But you know, we've seen it over the years when children, the whole notion of buying a kit is quite a moral dilemma for schools in general, and we certainly don't want to be seen, you know, to favour certain children or the potential in certain children over others, and therefore we level the playing field. And I think the older humans get, the more relevant these sort of issues become, but certainly not for us as, at a prep school level. We don't offer anything else other than our Braveheart Scholarship. That is purely an opportunity-based scholarship at our school.
We've touched briefly on the campus as such, and obviously the sporting offering is, and the sporting aspect has come into the questioning. Folks, I think it's important to, if you haven't already, to take a look at our website and just to appreciate what we do have in terms of campus. It's, I think, 64 hectares of what was originally a farmland, which was gifted to us by Colonel Green way back in 1942. And I think above all, what is important for us is that we have space, and with space comes peace and comes focus, and from there we can build our intentional approach towards everything we do. So please, if you get a chance, do pop onto our website and have a look at our campus. I think there might be some good drone shots as well, just to give an idea of what we are about. There are no questions, folks. You've got to keep helping us with this, please. Otherwise, we're going to be over and done with very, very shortly. One of the other things which I think is a strength of Clifton's is our intern program. At this stage, we have 11 young trainee teachers on our program. And perhaps Mr. Prince, if I can chat to you about the school's viewpoints about the intern program and how you see it strengthening our offering.
So I think before I start speaking about the intern program, it is not unique to Clifton, I must say, but I do think that the type of intern, and I guess that goes for all of our staff, you know, the type of staff and the type of intern that we do employ are definitely unique in terms of the way that they operate. They do spend the majority of their day at school, other than the odd nipping off to go to gym or something like that. They are at school 24/7, and they are at school 24/7 with our boarders, which means deep, really meaningful relationships that are formed. We are very proud of our intern program in in that we are equipping youngsters who are keen to become teachers themselves, equipping them in such a way that they can go off to other schools and make a difference. So I'm very proud of our program, which has been running for a number of years, and the success stories just keep on rolling in, and it's something that we don't take lightly. Yeah, Pete.
I think just to add to that, Esvia, I mean, as most of us on this panel were, having been trainee teachers at some stage, the opportunities the interns are given are manifold. There's opportunities in the classrooms, within the boarding houses, and on the sports field. And certainly from our perspective, the interns fulfill an incredible role. We have a designated staff member who's the intern coordinator, and that means that the interns get time within the classrooms too. So there's a big brother, big sisterhood kind of glue factor which comes with our intern program. So we're very proud of that. And as SVS says, not entirely unique to Clifton, but we're proud of what our interns do and who they are. Hamish I has popped as a question. Is there a lot of parent involvement? I'm assuming you mean positive parent involvement, Hamish, and I can say absolutely yes. We've got a very, very vibrant, enthusiastic and invested Parents Association, and perhaps Mr. Prinsloo, I can ask you to just unpack that a little more for us.
Yeah, sure. Hamish, thank you for that question, because again, folks joining us on the call tonight are and that are potentially looking at Clifton as an option for their child must realize the following: that post-COVID, what we have found as educators is that children are inclined to find themselves disjointed, and we actually use the word they have become a part, not a part. They've become separated behind their masks, behind their screens, and which has had quite a negative effect on the very identity of a child. And for a child to have a strong identity of self, they need to feel that they are connected to something bigger, and the role that the community plays is really incredible in this regard. When you sign up for Clifton, you are signing up to what I believe is again a very, very unique and special community. Adults that are willing to demonstrate the love for their child through their heavy investment in what we are doing as a school. Pete made a joke about positive or negative parent involvement. And what I've discovered since being at Clifton is that the community are so supportive of what the school is, and they see the school as actually the hub that sits right in the middle of a very unique and almost a Stone Age community, because it feels like in the modern society, in cities, communities have become so disconnected and they don't know who their neighbors are. And the Clifton community is very, very different to that. As a result, we've seen that our children are really operating with an incredible sense of identity and security, because they know that they are buying into something that's way bigger than them. I mean, examples of this is our Joburg to See event that we hosted this year, where we had over 2,000 people over the weekend being part of managing this successful event. And some of the members that helped us were not only from our Clifton Notties community, but also old boys and old girls, and old boys and old girls' parents that were just so desperate to be part of this again. And it really is lovely and unique. We had a get together, Braai, the other night, only to find that 300 people came, just desperate to be involved in what Clifton as a school not only stand for, but also to be part of this very unique community.
Thanks, Mr. Prinsloo. Mrs. Ford, one for you from Kerry Lynn Sido. The question is as follows: what programs do you have in place to address various learner support needs? I can say, Kerry Lynn, we're very proud of the learner supports offering which Clifton provides, but I'll allow Mrs. Ford to unpack that a bit further. So the question again, Rachel, what programs does Clifton have in place to address various learner support needs?
Thanks, Kerry-Lynn. Thanks, Pete. I think, Kerry-Lynn, to start off answering your question, I think it's important to just picture the Clifton classroom, and we've got small class sizes. So very small class sizes. There's a lot of individual support coming from the teacher. Then, as Pete mentioned, our learner support program is quite well established, and we are very proud of it indeed. So what we have is a learning support coordinator. The teachers have meetings with that learning support coordinator, and if should any need for further intervention arise, or say there's a struggle in the classroom, that teacher would then raise it with the support coordinator and say, you know, Susie is struggling with X, Y, and Z. How should I, this is what I've tried, what methodologies, or how can I differentiate the curriculum further for her to try and get the best out of her, and there be suggestions or recommendations made. Following that, there would be a conversation with you as the parent to say, how best can we support? Could we please assess her in-house individually? That was with our learning support coordinator, who is a remedial therapist, and then a learning support therapist, who's an occupational therapist, both of whom will do screening assessment with the parent as well as the teachers, of course, and that assessment would happen individually. Following that, certain recommendations would be made for further in-house support, so that's offered by the school, either paired remedial sessions or paired or 3 in a group occupational therapy sessions. And then following that, there's also private individual occupational therapy sessions, speech therapy sessions, and then we have an educational psychologist who consults for the school and can do a full educational psychology assessment. And then following that full assessment, there are often a number of recommendations that are made, and the school would be guided by that list of recommendations. The learning support coordinator is responsible for ensuring the implementation of those recommendations in the classroom and communicating with her how effectively those recommendations are being followed, and also how effective those recommendations are in helping to get the best out of the child. I hope that answers your question.
That's very thorough. Thank you very much, Rachel. Colleen Bromelo asks a question, and perhaps Rachel can direct this to you again. Colleen asks, do the children have the opportunity to go on class trips, and from what age? And then part B was, and roughly how many children are there per grade? So Mrs. Ford, for you, do the children have the opportunity to go on class trips, and from what age? And part B, roughly how many children are there per grade?
Thanks, Colleen, for your question. Yes, absolutely. Trips are quite a highlight of any Clifton kids' journey. So from grade 00, the kids start going on trips. So 00 and grade 0 are day trips only. And then from grade 1, the kids start sleeping away. So they go for 3 trips a year, each for 1 night away. And it's to different locations in and around KZN, quite local. And a heavy emphasis on learning outdoors, being outdoors, pushing physical and social boundaries, and a lot of teamwork. And then in grade 2 again, another 3 trips. This time they bump up usually to 2 nights away from home. And then in grade 3 again, another 3 trips for the year, and also 2 nights away. Again, heavy emphasis on being out and about and really develop spirit of self and spirit in the community. And the kids are exhausted when they come back. Literally, I think they get their bags into the boot and then they literally pass out. So they are exhausted, and they've had good, clean fun, although their bodies might not physically be all that clean. The average kids per grade, the classes are small. So they range, our numbers range between 13 and 18. We like to keep them small so that we can give that individual attention in the JP phase particularly.
If I may just add on to Rachel's answer, and thank you for that answer, Rich. Colleen, the trips do continue right the way through to grade 7 and sort of culminate in a 10-day adventure off to the wilds of the Thuli block in Botswana. So we don't stop pushing the children. Perhaps the teachers don't stop pushing themselves either. It's all about giving the children the best opportunity we can as educators and perhaps as pseudo parents as well. So trips are very much a big part of our offering, and we're very proud of those. Karen Fossler then asks, do you have any online programs whereby you equip the children with the skills they need for future employment? The examples given are coding and robotics. Karen, we can go one better than online, and we can tell you we do have a coding and robotics class, which is run, we call it our STEAM program. That is an hour weekly offering with each of the grades. So I hope that helps you with an actual human being rather than being online. That said, I mean, I must just say, as teachers, we have learned a huge amount from being online. So we're not averse to learning and improving our offering as we go along. Kerry Slater then has one. Do the school holidays at Clifton follow that of other boarding schools in the area? I think I speak under correction here, Mr. Prince. I think the answer is an emphatic yes. Kerry, we do follow those other schedules, and that does come as a result of very intentional calendar meetings between the headmasters regularly. So I hope that's a yes for you. I seem to have ticked off all the questions as we go along, folks. So then perhaps, Mr. Prince, the next thing I can bring up is the family ethos we speak about at Clifton. Mrs. Ford has spoken about our intentionally small class sizes. We've spoken about the internship program and the staff being involved over the weekends, but perhaps you could speak more to what you envisage as being the family ethos of Clifton, perhaps around and about and beyond our gates.
No, thank you, Pete. I think if I could just take one step back and just speak about those three core values that I think Hamish asked the question, that respect for myself, respect for the other, and then respect for authority. How these things become the building blocks of one of, if not the most important thing, is to teach children to negotiate positive relationships in life. And what was amazing, I think one of the most fantastic things a mother actually told me this week. She asked her son about bullying, and the boy replied, "There's no bullying at Clifton." And I know that it's a very bold statement, but what was lovely, and I'm definitely not saying that there's no acts of unkindness happening at schools. Well, at our school, it happens. That is what organizations where humans are gathering together, these are the things that you will have to negotiate. But that strong focus on relationships, on teaching children the skills how to foster and manage positive relationships, but also how to negotiate themselves when they do find themselves in, let's call them tricky scenarios, where there's skills that they have to exhibit that they will have to negotiate throughout their lives. This morning I had a chat to a girl, and she was very upset about a friendship group that has just changed dynamics. And I said to her, I'm turning, nearly 30, no, 50. And I'm turning 50, and still, until today, I'm still having to negotiate that as part of daily life. And so to answer your question, Pete, in terms of relationships, I think that is the one thing that is very unique about Clifton. Because we are slightly removed, I'm going to say that, we are slightly removed from the typical challenges of what inner city schools are dealing with. It means that we have to foster very, I'm going to call them positive and encouraging relationships at all stages. Our staff going on trips with the children, it's the same staff coaching soccer and coaching hockey, which means that the relationships becomes so incredibly meaningful, because that staff member knows what the child is doing in the class, on the sports field, and in the out and about program, which means that there are genuine relationships that are fostered well beyond the years at Clifton. And I see this manifesting through events such as our old boys and old girls coming back, and I see the emotion just pouring out of our old boys and old girls in appreciation for their old teachers, which makes me incredibly proud to be part of such a unique environment.
I think it also goes beyond the fact, I think, given that we are, I mean, as speaking as a fisherman, I'm quite happy to admit that I do learn fishing tips from some of the lads in my group as well. So I think the learning and perhaps that helps build a family relationship. The learning is two ways as well. Kerry Slater asks, at what grade do the children start writing exams, and would they be done in term 2 and 4 or just at the end of the year? Kerry, we do start exams in grade 6. Grade 6s will write exams in in term 2 and term 4. Grade 7s, obviously in preparation for high school, will be slightly more rigorous. So our exams for grade 7s are in terms 1, 2 and 4. So I hope that helps you there. Folks, our questions are drying up, which is either we're doing very well or we're doing very badly. So please do feel free to type a few in. One more thing I'd just like to add is our clubs offering, and I've spoken briefly about the clubs. Just to let the folks out there know, we do, in as much as we've spoken about sport and mainstream sports, there's a definite appreciation and awareness of the fact that children do have their own gifts and their own interests. So clubs are a very intentional part of what we roll out. And those take place in terms 2 and 3. And in case I leave any out, just give me a shout, yes, sir. I did speak about the fishing club, which I'll push again. We've got a fishing club, a mountain biking club. There's a golf club, a trail running course, which apparently is the most popular club. We've got a radio shack, chess club, and board games. Have I left any out, sir?
No, that sounds good.
That's pretty much it. So those are obviously with for the staff's wellness, also to keep the staff out there and modelling what it means to have a different interest and to try something new. So we do. Those are not set in stone, of course. Those will or may adjust according to staff. What should we say? Interests as the years unfold.
I also want to add there, Pete, that. And I'm really excited about this. Next year we are rekindling our relationship between Clifton Notties and Clifton Durban, where we are going to have our first Clifton Day in a few years, and which means that we will all make the journey down to Durban, and we will actually be participating in activities that are not your traditional sports. So we call it a beach day, where we are going to be playing beach soccer and beach volleyball, and do some life-saving things. And and people might look at me and go, "Yeah, but what's the relevance of this?" And what is so exciting about this initiative is that we will be splitting our Notties boys and girls and our Clifton boys into 4 new groups, and it won't be Clifton Notties versus Clifton Durban, but it will be boys and girls doing sport for what it was intended to do. And that was just to enjoy life and build positive relationships. And I'm super excited about not only the day, but also what I'm hoping to send as a message and a challenge almost to other schools out there to say, let's get together, let's mix teams, let's do sport for the sake of doing it, because through that, true relationships are built. And it also speaks to the philosophy of what we are as a school, where, yes, we want to do well, we want to win, we want to give our best, but never compromising childhood and always fostering positive relationships.
I think it's fantastic. For those of you who don't know, Clifton Notties' history started in 1942 as a result of a departure from Durban during the Second World War. I won't bore you with the history, but again, as I might have punted earlier, do go and check out our website for the backstory there. Karen Foster has got a really wonderful question, and thank you for it, Karen. What does the perfect parent involvement mean to you? And I'll defer to the headmaster on this one.
Fantastic.
The perfect parent involvement.
Fantastic, Karen. Karen, what not only what we as a team of teachers at Clifton believe in is that there's no way that a child will benefit from a negative or a destructive relationship between the school and the parent body. Which means that if we are not a strong team, your child won't benefit. If I don't send a positive message about home to your child, then then the child won't benefit. And the same is true for parents. If parents are not sending a positive message about the school to the child won't benefit. So I believe in firstly an awareness of what's happening at school, because that's also sending a very strong message. I believe in a partnership, and without sounding cliche about it, to have that genuine partnership of belief that it takes a village to raise a child. The partnership between the school, the adults in the school, the teacher and the parent is, for me, crucial. And therefore, I welcome the tough conversations where parents are welcome to come and say, Esvia, I'm not confident that you've got the best interest of my child at heart. For example, putting him in the B rugby team. And then for us to have that conversation and say, but you must trust me that I look at your child holistically, and I've bought into the journey of where he's going. And when both parent and teacher start buying into the journey of every child as an individual, then it becomes a productive and a successful relationship.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, so especially with involving teachers in the equation. So it's very much a team effort,
absolutely,
rather than us v them. Jess asks this, Mr. Prinsloo: what high schools do most of the Clifton children go to, and do they end up getting into their high school of choice? What high schools do most of the Clifton children go to, and do they end up getting into their high schools of choice?
So I think I can start, Jess, by answering your question by we have yet to have a child that did not get into high school. Yes, I can tell you that our feeder schools mainly, and maybe I can differentiate between boys and girls for now. Our main high schools, in no particular order, for boys are Michaelhouse, Hilton, St. Charles, Maritzburg College, Kersney, and Howick. So those are the six. And then, yes, we do have the outlier high schools like the Northwoods, the Glenwoods, that some of our boys go to, but it's mainly those six. For girls, again, in no particular order, because it does fluctuate from year to year. It's St. Anne's, the Wickham Collegiate, Epworth, and St. John's, and Howick High School as a coeducational option. But it's mainly those. And the one thing I can tell you is that Clifton children are sought after, and that's not a sales punt. I've had a phone call from quite an influential high school in the area the other day, complimenting me on our academic standards of our Clifton children, and the mention was made that we've got Clifton children in the top academic range in every grade of the school, and not only are they performing well academically, but as all-rounder, resilient, gritty children that are genuine contributors to the school, makes Clifton a very popular choice for high schools.
Thanks, Mr. Prinsloo. Santana Kalika asks, please could you tell us more about our arts and culture program at Clifton? Thank you for the question. Mrs. Kalika, can you tell us more about our arts and culture program at Clifton? Sir.
Are you handing it over to me? Santana, thank you so much for your question. I can tell you that it is so important to us that we have just invested quite a lot of money in rebuilding we call it our Expressive Arts Centre. And our Expressive Arts Centre will encompass our drama, which is a timetabled curriculum subject of an hour a week for every child in the school. Our music, which is exactly the same, and our art. I think what is interesting about our drama and music, as part of our music program, every Clifton child sings in a choir, every single one of them. And we also have a dream that every Clifton child will play a musical instrument. And that's why we have allocated enough time in our curriculum timetable for every child to have at least an hour of music every week. In terms of our drama, we have 3 dedicated performances throughout the year, and where we have productions that is managed through our drama department. And I must say, the standard of productions, the level have just increased incredibly, pushing children again out of their own comfort zone, and putting them in front of people, teaching them the skill again that they will need to negotiate themselves safely through life when they are managing board meetings or having to speak in front of people one day. So drama, music, incredibly important to us. And then the therapeutic, remedial almost at times, effect that art have on children is not to be underestimated at Clifton. And therefore we have a fantastic art teacher that are constantly pushing and driving our children to produce quite amazing things in our art lessons.
I'm going to be in trouble later, folks, because I've omitted to mention there's also an art club and a drama club as well. And our club's offering, I knew I had forgotten something, so apologies to those folks. Just to add up to what Mr. Prinsley was saying, we have a marimba band for the grade 6s and 7s. There's a school band, a choir as well, and there's no truth in the room that there's a staff choir either. So we are a work in progress, but certainly the focus on the children. Then I think the arts and culture program to which they're exposed is quite something. Angela Klusner, question for you, Mrs. Ford. Angela Klusner asks, what sports do the grade R's do? And then specifically, do they partake in swimming? So what sports do the grade R's do? Do they partake in swimming? That's for Mrs. Ford. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shall I?
Thanks. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Angela, thanks for your question. Yes, grade R's definitely swim. They swim in term 1 and term 4, and hopefully get into the pool as soon as we can in term 3, but that's weather dependent. And then there's a number of different sporting opportunities available for them in grade R, but aren't formed as, or aren't a part of the school offering in the day as such. So swimming takes place in the school day in their PE lesson twice a week in term 1 and term 4, and then that gets replaced with PE in the winter months. And then outside of school, but does happen on the school grounds for many of them, we have a variety of service providers offering tennis, squash, ballet, karate, and I think that's about it in terms of the sport for grade R, but I might be forgetting one of them.
Thanks very much, Rachel. So many sports would begin in the grade 1, and then the more competitive element would kick in about grade 3. Folks, one last question seems to have popped in from Hamish I. Any international languages, French or Spanish? Hamish, we don't offer them as deliberately part of our academic offering or our curriculum offering, but we do have at this stage, I think it's 2 children taking French lessons, one of them with a real live person tutor and the other using an online app. So not an official part of our offering, but certainly one which sometimes we have to include for immigrants. So there we go. Folks, we seem to have come to the end of our questions, and thank you very, very much for giving of your time for this last hour and a bit. We're really grateful to you. Now, perhaps I could just say that if any questions do pop up post this chat, as a family or if your children have any specifics, do drop our marketing department or our admissions department an email, and I know we'd be glad to help you out as far as possible. So from our side at the front desk, I won't quite say Top Gun, but just a quick thank you to you, Mr. Prinsley, for your time. We're grateful to have had you. To Mrs. Ford, Rachel Ford, thank you for your input and your wisdom. And Mr. Majola, our head of boarding, thank you so much for being there. So we're grateful to have you. One last chat or one last comment from you folks. Coming up soon will be a little flyer on the screen. I'm not quite sure how to do that. I don't think I have to press any buttons, but we are hosting an X Factor weekend on, I think it's the 15th or 16th, and that'll pop up on the screen. So please don't sign off immediately. Hamish I says we should go and have a beer. That's a school night, so we won't do that. But do please stay tuned. Don't nip away. And we're really grateful to you for your time and for your questions about our magnificent school. We look forward to welcoming you on site, in person, and hope you have a magnificent evening and enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you so much, folks. Good evening.